I'm fully fired up. Let's make it happen.
Welcome back to the Fired Up podcast, where we help you get your together so you can make it happen. We're all about starting, growing and scaling. Do yourself a favor. Follow our socials and subscribe to our channels so you don't miss an update. Let's get pumped up for this episode. Today, we're joined on the podcast by Nick Sinclair, who is a visionary leader in the accounting industry. With over 20 years experience in helping CPA firm owners unlock their potential. As an entrepreneur and coach, he's founded companies like TOA Global, Ab² Institute of Accounting and Topfirm, empowering over 1,100 firms worldwide. Nick has a proven track record in scaling businesses to 100 plus million in revenue and building high performance teams. Through speaking engagements and coaching, Nick has impacted thousands of accountants, offering strategies to optimize workflows, improve team capacity, and drive sustainable growth. His passion is helping account leaders gain time and financial freedom. Let's enjoy the episode. Welcome back to the Fired Up podcast. I'm excited to be talking to a good friend, Nick Sinclair, today about an amazing journey for himself and his businesses. So great to see you, Nick. Every time I see you, you're looking even more ripped and better than ever. Let's start there on the transformation, because I think it was August 2023. Something happened then when you decided change is required. Do you want to just talk us through what was the trigger for that? And then I want to get into how you structured it from there.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me today. I'm a big fan of yours, and we obviously worked together for many years. But yeah. I think the big trigger was really one to do with work, to be honest. We, for the first time, got an external board together to really look at our business in a way that an investor or an external party would look at it, because I've always had an attitude of running the business for growth, very growth driven, and I wasn't so much focused on profit because I was worried about a long-term, I suppose, game as opposed to the short-term gain. But it was really there that they pulled the business apart from an external party and said, look, Nick, if you were to die and you're not that healthy, this is how the business would be seen from a valuation point of view. And at the time, our CEO, who you know quite well as well, obviously we both worked with him, resigned the night before that board meeting. He said, look, I've taken this as far as I can go and I can't take us to the next 5-year journey. And I sat back and we told the board the night before the meeting that, he was stepping down, and they were quite shocked, as I was. I broke down in the Cheesecake Factory in America. And the next couple of days were pretty intense and pretty tough. It was something that being a business owner, the only person you report to is yourself. And I said to this external advisory board, you've got full reign to basically pull us apart and tell us the truth. Don't tell us what we want to hear, tell us the truth. And they said to me, Nick, you've either got to step back in as CEO or leave completely. And I wasn't ready to leave completely. And so I stepped back in. But the one thing I realized was that if I was going to step back in for a period of time, I needed to be the CEO that the business needed. I couldn't be in my current form. I was not the best of leaders. I'm very short and direct, as you know, and to the point. And I wasn't showing. I was overweight. I was excessively overweight, and there was no excuse for it. My kids had called me out. Mason, my son, called me out of, you always talk about doing this Ironman, Dad, but you've never done it. So he called me out. My daughter called me out many times. A good friend in business said to me, Nick, how many fat, successful CEOs do you know? And he told me that probably 4 years before it, and I just brushed it off. And I just took a hard look at myself and went, well, if I'm going to step back into a business that's, 10 years old now and it needs a very different type of CEO, I'm not going to be in it for a long period of time. I'm going to be a transition CEO. I have to step back in, find the right person to lead, but I need to be a different type of leader. And that meant a whole transformation. I needed to change the way that I looked, the way that I led, the way that I approached life. We'd had very much a growth-focused culture. And we burnt a lot of people out along the way because of that, because of our, we've grown at 25% year on year for close to 12 years now, going from nothing to 4,500 team members.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
You were part of the journey, and you know how hard we worked. And I said, well, the next phase of the business needs to be about balancing profitability and growth. It can't just be all about growth. So the only way that we can make that change is if I make a significant shift on myself personally. And I had to look in the mirror. I had to realize that there was areas of my life that I wasn't proud of. And my weight was a big one. I was a sports person growing up. I was competitive. I was very athletic, and I turned into an obese person. And, you know, since that time, I've lost 54 kilos or 120 pounds.
It's crazy.
You know, I go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm training for a half Ironman, which I'll do in September. And I'm feeling the best I've ever felt in probably 30 years. So,
wow.
But yeah, it was something that I knew for probably 15 years. I kept telling myself that everything, my family, my business, and that needed me. And my weight loss wasn't a big issue, or my weight or the way that I looked and felt. But looking back now, I wish that, you know, I never got that bad. I wish that I led by example, because I realized that our workplace now is healthier. You know, we run a Biggest Loser globally every year, and, you know, it was up 40% last year on our numbers. It was like crazy. And it's not because of me, but it's like when a leader is leading by example, I think others follow.
It's powerful, yeah. So, I mean, and like some people, or maybe even a lot of people, start to make big decisions because of big issues or big problems. Like, you know, when things get tough, that's kind of when the real person starts to shine through. But I'm keen to understand, like, from that, so you made this decision, you go, right, this is what's going to have to happen for you personally, for what you want to do with the business. The next part is, and this is where I think a lot of people stumble, which you're very good at, how do you actually start to plan and implement that so you've got the journey that you're going to go on? So how did you go, right, this is what I'm going to do, these are the decisions I'm going to make? What were the next steps in terms of going, whether it's the fitness plan, coaching help, nutrition, changing your calendar structure? How did you kind of sit down and map that out to go, here's what's going to happen?
Yeah, I found a coach that's been there and done it. Right. So I went to a coach that helps, you know, businessmen lose weight.
Gotcha.
He wrote me a weight loss plan. So he gave me a meal plan and he gave me a weights program. And I just did exactly that. So I just followed it to a T, and I've had the same coach coaching me for business for a long time, and he was the one that said, look, Nick, you going back into CEO is probably not the best option, but it's the best option for the business right now. But that means you need to change significantly. So he helped me build out a plan to become a better leader, and to structure my time so that I was doing the things that would add the most value to the business. And for me, I've always been a big advocate of coaches. I've got a triathlon coach at the moment. I've got a weight loss coach at the moment. I've got a business coach. I've got a coach that's helping me with communication now because I want to do a lot more stage speaking and workshops and that. So for me, why would you try and learn the hard way? You can Google, you can GPT it these days. There's so much AI that can help you, and it builds great plans. But for me, I just want to fast track the experience. And while it costs money, and that's probably the second reason I do it, is because I'm paying someone normally a reasonable amount of money to give me this plan and hold me accountable. I'm actually more accountable.
Yeah.
And that's probably the big thing, is they check in. So, you know, my sleep patterns, my weights every day, my meals, how much calories I'm having every day. He had access to every data. I weighed myself every day. Right. So he was basically seeing all my data.
Yeah.
How often he actually looked at it, I don't reckon he looked that often. But I always thought he could look at it at any point. I'm paying him to do this. I'm actually going to do it.
Yeah.
And then
he's going to call you on your bullshit if he says
something. Yeah, well, he was. And, you know, occasionally he'd send me a message about things. But, you know, I still ate a chocolate bar every day for 18 months while I was losing that weight. I just managed the calories. Now I'm a little bit more structured with how my macros and bits and pieces. But, yeah, I think for me, it's always been find people that have been on the journey before you, because why would you try and learn the hard way? You're going to make the same mistakes that they made. So why wouldn't you just follow someone's that's already been there, go down the path that they've been down? You'll alter it and tweak it for what you need. But yeah, that's been a big philosophy of mine my whole life. And, you know, having to pay for that also hurts. Yeah. Which means you're more committed to actually doing it.
Up. Yeah. So this must have done crazy things to your calendar, right? Because all of a sudden you've still got the businesses, you've actually got to be more involved than you were, but now you've got an exercise routine and you've got all this other stuff to put into it. So how did you structure your time?
Yeah, I thought I was really good at managing time. Like I've taught our clients for 10, 12 years and a lot of leaders around, the fully loaded year. I have my calendars 12, 18 months in advance. Like I'm very structured. But my night times are a complete waste of time. So, I would, after dinner, watch Netflix or just watch YouTube or just watch TV. And it was really, when I analysed my time, it was probably 3 to 4 hours of just nothing time that really didn't add to my life. And I looked at it and just went, well, what about if I went to bed? I met a guy called Dan Martell who's written one of the best books I've read in a long time. And I read his book and I went to a few of his events in person. And I said to him, mate, how do you do it? He goes, well, I go to bed at 9 o'clock, Nick. And I'm like, that's interesting. And I just started going to bed at 9 o'clock. And now I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. So instead of sleeping till 7:30, I go to bed earlier. And now I wake up earlier.
Because you've got then enough hours.
Same amount of time.
Yeah.
I just use them better.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean I don't watch the occasional shows on TV with my wife. Yeah, I do. But I'm pretty structured. Between 9 and 10, I'm in bed at night, and I'm up between 4 or 5 in the morning. Suddenly I had all this time that I didn't have in the past. And getting healthier, you just feel more alive. So instead of feeling sluggish and tired all the time because I was eating bad food and not exercising, now I feel a lot more healthy and alive, so I have a lot more energy. And that was the other thing. My diary was always full, but it wasn't necessarily full with managing my energy. My diary was based on appointments of when they needed to be. Now my diary is built around my energy management. I know late afternoons, for example, I'm not at my best. So I'm not going to do my most high intensive work in the afternoons. I'm going to do, things like reading or just learning or basic, internal meetings that, you can still participate in, but you don't need to have huge brain width.
Yeah.
So
do you, I'm a big fan of Dan Martell as well. And the book Nick's talking about is Buy Back Your Time, which is awesome. But, and I know he does this and probably you do as well, but I want to just ask, do you do calendar structuring into blocks? So you have blocks of like work time, family time, exercise time. Is it all kind of blocked out like that? And then these individual parts are put into it?
Yeah, the minute I wake up to the minute I sleep is all blocked 7 days a week.
Right.
And some of it is just, 3 hours of personal family time.
Yeah.
Like it's not structured to the minute in those sorts of things, but 100%. Like there's weeks where I can't do gym in the morning because I've got US or North American calls. So I'll do gym at like 9 o'clock in the morning then. So it is all structured and it's all managed by Ethel, my EA, who you know quite well. She's been with me for 12 years now, and her role is to really manage my time and maximize, I suppose, my priorities.
Yeah. And I think it's important, right? Because a calendar is obviously structured around what you have classified as being non-negotiable to get you to the level that you want to with your relationships, family, business, and everything else. But more importantly, I think having that structured time allows you to say no. So when the US client wants a meeting at 7 p.m. on Friday night, you're like, no. Like that's my family time, right? So just being, do you agree with that? That you've got to have that no capability, because saying yes too often can really mess things up. Hey, quick interruption. I assume you're listening to this because you are either starting, growing, or building your empire, and you are searching for the freedom formula. I want you to go and check out the Fired Up app. It's in the App Store, where you can dive into free course content and look through the course intros for paid content that'll be relevant to the journey that you're at. Don't delay, get fired up, go make it happen, and fast track with this business coach right in your pocket. Now back to the episode.
That's a big part of why I have an EA, because I just say yes all the time. And I think that was a big trigger that, when I wanted to start making the weight loss, I had to say no a lot more. So I really assess all opportunities now to go, is this actually moving me forward? Is it something that I need to do or something I want to do?
Yeah.
But then because you've structured your time in your diary, it's a lot more fluid, meaning you've actually got a lot more time to do things, as opposed to people that don't have structure. And that's the thing that I find, is that diary gives you structure. It doesn't take away structure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. So a lot of the people that I talk to, and even some of the feedback through the stuff that we're putting through in the Fired Up content, are saying that's all good, but I don't have time. And you hear a lot of people say, I don't have time. What would you be saying to people who don't run multi-million dollar businesses and haven't done what you've done, what would you say to people saying, I don't have time?
Yeah, the reason they don't have time is because everyone owns their time.
Yeah.
And if you don't own your time, if you don't control your time and where you focus and the energy and where it goes, then everyone else is going to own your time. So the only reason you don't own your time is because you're not being honest with yourself. That's, I would think, the truth.
Yeah. Do you think the reason for them not owning their time is not big enough as well? Like if they go, well, if you really wanted to start a business, you'd allocate the time to it. If you really wanted to lose the weight, you'd allocate the time to it. If you really want to, you know what I mean? Do you think that the reason's not big enough and it's just an excuse?
Yeah, I look back and, I've started many businesses over the years, and I think that we just get in this work mode where we need to do everything. And when you're growing a business, it's tough. It's tough juggling everything. And I think that, we are often pulled left and right. We're doing sales, we're doing marketing, we're doing ops, we're doing finance, we're doing payments, we're doing there's just so much to do.
Yeah.
And because we're doing it because we want to grow something, and ultimately we hope at some point we don't have to, that we're big enough we can employ people to do it, we just continue to do it. But the lesson I wish I learned and someone told me right at the start was, if you just structure your time and do the things that actually move the needle the most, everything else doesn't matter. So the only way you can do that is by owning your time, which is structuring your time to actually work on the things that actually make a difference. And that's something that I've learned, particularly in the last 3 years with our new CEO. He's just so good at saying no. As a business, we've been growing fast for a long time, and there's always things to fix.
Yeah.
There's always stuff to do.
Yeah.
But one of the things that he says is, we only do 2 or 3 things and we just do those really well. And the other 9 things are nice to haves, but if we don't do them, does it really matter? If we need to fix onboarding for clients, is it really need to be fixed? Is it urgent? If it's completely broken, do it. But if it's something that can just stay the same for now and you can get to it once you do the other things that move the needle the most, just do those. And I think less is more.
Yeah.
And there's a creator that I follow, Matt Gray, and he says, smooth is slow, or slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. And I think that when I look at it and go, we always are running so fast, but if we just go slow, it's smooth, it's in rhythm, which allows us to run actually twice as fast.
Yeah.
And that's something that, for many years, I never got that. I just was running 100 miles an hour trying to do everything, but we can't do everything. And all it does is take your time, and it actually takes your time away from the things that are going to move you forward the quickest.
Yeah. That's great advice. Now, I want to kind of take it back to the early stages of TOA, and the journey it's been on over the last 12 years. But for people listening to this, a lot of them are in that small business phase, and maybe they're solo, maybe they've only got a small team around them. They're wearing all the hats, like you said. Yeah. These are probably the ones who are saying, I don't have time. These are the ones who are hitting a couple cartons of beer on Friday just to drown the week they've just had. What would you be saying to those people who are at that early stage because you can reflect back on that, right? 2013, 2014 with TOA. If you could give them some advice on things to avoid and things to focus on first, what would you say those things are?
Yeah, the early stages of business, you can't stop the hard work. You've got to do the work. You're never going to build a business if you're not willing to put the hours in. Mm-hmm. You just don't have to do it forever, and you can do it in a smarter way. I think the things to avoid is trying to do everything yourself. We try and maximize our lifestyle too quickly. I think that if I was to go back now, I wish that, starting a business, all I focused on was hiring the right people. And I think that too many people don't hire the capability that they need early enough because they're too focused on trying to upgrade their lifestyle. Business is going well, go and buy a new car.
Right.
Business is going well, buy another house. They upgrade their lifestyle as opposed to just going, for the first 5 years of business, I'm absolutely going to pump everything back into it. Mm. And I did that pretty well with pumping everything back into the business. But there were some things that I went, you know what, I bought a few cars, I bought stuff along the way that's a really good, high quality person. I wish I did that sooner. So the things to avoid for me is just upgrading your lifestyle just focus on getting the business, building the business so that it doesn't rely on you. And that is hiring really capable, skilled people to take you out of those roles so that you have that freedom and space. And I think that's probably the biggest one is focus on building the people that you need, because they will allow you that freedom and ultimately will drive the business faster than you will be able to by doing it yourself.
So you'd be saying if someone had some available funds in their business and before they go and upgrade the house or car or anything, you'd be saying utilize that money on people before marketing, before a new office, before
100%,
people first.
100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it's the, Dan Martell talks about in the leverage ladder. Well, sorry, that's our version of it is the leverage ladder, but he has the ladder of, replace yourself from the admin, then replace yourself from the different roles.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that, is that the first thing you should do is invest heavily in your people, because if you invest in getting yourself out of the customer service, for example, or the admin, then you can double down on spending your time on doing the marketing.
Yeah.
Like marketing is one of the last things you want to release yourself from, in my opinion. But again, the sooner you can invest in people, it just means that you don't have to worry about it. It means that you can grow and focus on the things that you're really good at.
Yeah. With I saw your video the other day and it was kind of timely, but customer success, client success, the client experience seems to be just getting worse and worse out there in the marketplace. And I think it's getting very noisy and social, and everything's kind of top of funnel. Get the lead, get them in the top of the funnel, market the shit out of them, sell them something, and now forget about them. So I know your approach is different to that, but why is the customer experience and actually looking after your customers and delivering on what you promised, like why is that so important?
Well, the only way that you can differentiate yourself is by giving someone an experience.
Yeah.
Because they're paying for a service and they can pay for that service with anyone. And, my car had some issues yesterday. I had to ring the dealer 3 times to get onto them to get my car booked in because I can't drive it.
Yeah.
Like that's just, and they're a luxury car brand. It's like, it's disgraceful. Like they should be, I didn't buy a car from that dealer. I actually drove to Brisbane for the same dealer because their service is that bad. And this is the thing is if you just treat, at the end of the day, our clients pay our bills. We need to be focused so much on them and giving them an experience that they talk about us to everyone so that we get more customers and that we never lose them. And I think that too many people focus on product, or they treat their client like a product, as opposed to the only thing you should be thinking about is the experience that they go through.
Yeah.
And don't make the experience for them harder because your processes are so complex. Change your process to make them have an experience. And we traveled a lot over the years. I still travel a bit these days, and I was in a hotel earlier this week and, return customer. I had a welcome card from the general manager and a bottle of wine. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but, it makes you feel good. It's a process, but it still makes you feel good.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key thing is that, if you're running a business, the only person that really matters in the early days is your customer, because if you want more customers, just treat them really
Treat
well.
them well. And I think we're talking about it now, and that's the thing that everybody does. You've just had a bad experience with your car.
Yeah.
Who's the dealership?
It's an Audi. Yeah, it's an Audi dealer.
Audi,
yeah.
Right. So we start having these conversations, right? And people are like talking about it to their friends, to their family. And then someone goes, I was just looking at a new Audi. And you might go, hey, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Because just be wary that the service sucks and the this and the that. But with Tesla, their service is outstanding.
Yeah.
Getting anything done is just above and beyond in terms of like the communication, the turn up and everything. So the reason I'm raising that is because even just in this conversation and people listening or watching to it flag, Tesla might be something we should consider now because of that experience, and maybe we should not consider Audi so much. And it comes between all kind of products and services that if I'm looking for someone to do something at my house, or I'm looking for recommendations on other business people, I'm going to go to the people that I know and go, hey, who do you use? Was that good? Was that bad? Should I talk to them? Yes, I should. Are they going to deliver what they say? And that's who I'll go to, because I'm getting a recommendation of someone that I trust and appreciate.
100%. And I think the industry that does this really well is tourism. Like we were in Fiji a couple of months ago for a holiday with a family, and every tour that we went on, they always asked us, please go on and rate us and share your positive stories at the end of the day, because that is the only place where we get new customers. And I know when my wife's planning our holidays, the first thing she looks at is all the reviews.
Yeah.
Good, bad, and indifferent. And you understand that you can't always keep people always happy. There's always going to be some negative ones. But if predominantly the same thing's being said by a large amount of people, you feel trusting of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing is these days it's easy to get negative comments online and to have a bad reputation, and people don't even know you, but they'll stay away from you. And that's why I think the customer experience is, particularly with automation, with AI and everything that's evolving and changing in our world, the only thing that makes us stand out is the human touch. Is the human experience that they have dealing with us. And I don't care what type of business you have, the human experience is the only point of difference that you have.
What and how do you think, like in terms of like AI and all the other stuff that's coming through, how do you think that's going to shift this, if at all?
I'm super excited by it, but I mean, you know, ChatGPT's now got Shopify in it. There's no Google ads now. When you go to buy something on Google and you search like a certain jumper or whatever it is, then you get spammed with all the ads, and the people that pay the most come up the top. If you go into ChatGPT now and put a certain type of, you know, jumper or hoodie or something that you want, it'll just give you the 3 best options based on reviews and you know, real life feedback. And I think that's what's changing is that, and that's why I think the human connection and brand is so important, because the reality is the world is changing, and it will change at a rapid pace, at a pace that I don't think we've seen in our lifetime anyway. I think that is how quick things are going to be. But I just see it as a great opportunity. And, you know, there's opportunities in every type of business, but your brand stands out more now. The way that you actually treat your team and your customers really matters now, because there's going to be less team, but more human connection in many ways.
Hold up, we're going to cut this episode short because part 2 will be coming soon. So stay tuned, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow our socials so you don't miss the next update.